I'm Jackie, and today I've got with me Lisa from White Butterfly Cake Studio and Food Safe Consultancy. Hi, Lisa.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm not bad.
Good.
So Lisa she's been in the catering business for 35 years or more. Am I right?
Yeah, makes me feel really old, but yeah, that's how long I've been in the catering industry.
Oh, but what I found really surprising is, Lisa, we've probably known each other now 28 years.
Yeah, it must be because our children are that age, aren't they? And we knew each other through our children and growing up. So yeah,
Yeah,
it must
yeah,
be.
that's just crazy. So I know some of the challenges that you've had to deal with over that time. And I just want to say you're an inspiration.
Oh,
Here you are running two businesses. So I'm so proud of you.
oh, thank you, Jack.
So anyway, before I get all emotional,
Stop
um,
it.
so you've done all sorts of catering stuff. I know you used to work in the schools and stuff with obviously the food safety and bits and pieces. But so why cakes? Why are we cakes now?
So, 4 years ago, I was made redundant from the industry after starting as a junior chef, working my way up through private hospitals and schools and things like that to operations manager, and being in charge of lots of groups of kitchens. And as you said, making sure they were doing everything they should be doing and training in allergens and things like that. And when I was made redundant, I decided that I wanted to do things for myself really. And I'd always made cakes for family and friends and people like that. And I just thought, you know what, let's just do this, jump in with 2 feet and let's create the cake studio. So I really wanted to just follow my heart really, and help people to smile, make people smile with cake, just bring a bit of joy to them, just happy to create cakes for them and make sure that they're happy with what they get really. So really more than anything it's probably just following my heart.
Yeah, and obviously I follow you on Facebook, and some of those cakes they're just amazing. They must take hours. I like often look at them and say, oh my God, there's so much detail in that cake.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jack. It's I like to design the cakes. So if someone said to me, I just want, I don't know, a VW camper van as a cake, like, yeah, no problem. And then I work out how to do it. So on my page there is a VW, there's a couple of VW camper vans. And I just love doing those novelty cakes, really, more than anything, because I just love people. I love the reaction that I get from people.
Yeah. Well, that's really good. Now, some of you are probably sort of wondering, obviously, holistic lifestyle is about sort of healthy, holistic living. For me, it's all about balance. So a little bit of what you fancy is good. But the reason why I really particularly wanted to talk to you is because I know that you personally follow a dairy-free and gluten-free diet. So does that mean no cake for you, Lise? Are you how do you get around that?
No, I still have cake. No, you're right. Yes, I do. I am celiac and I'm intolerant to dairy. So when I want cake, which is not very often because I do try to be healthy, but yes, you're right. A little bit of what you like is good for you. So I make a gluten-free, dairy-free cake. There are products out there now, much better now than what they were. I was diagnosed as celiac in 2007, and in those days, to buy bread in a supermarket or to buy cake in a supermarket that was gluten free, it was like brick. It was horrible. Now in 2022, there are so many options. So to make a gluten free cake, I always use Dove's Farm, the gluten-free self-raising Dove's Farm flour, because that is the best flour in my opinion. And I use a dairy-free or vegan spread or marge or butter or something to make it. So yeah, so no, absolutely, I most definitely can have cake.
And do you that's a service you offer as well to your customers?
Yeah. So it seems that there are a lot of allergies now in the food industry. There is so many people coming to me saying, you know, that their child is egg free, that you know, they're allergic to eggs or nuts. Obviously, that's an old one as well. Nuts is something that's been going for years. Vegan, gluten free, dairy free, egg free. It is, there's a lot of people asking me for that, even for wedding cakes as well. So that with wedding cakes, if someone says to me, oh, we've got a few vegans or something like that, then obviously I can do a vegan tier. But yeah, there's a lot more people coming to me saying to me, you know, oh, is there any chance I can have a vegan, gluten-free vegan cake, or gluten-free, egg-free, like I said, dairy-free cake? And it is absolutely possible to make those sorts of cakes. It's taken a bit of tweaking with recipes, but it's doable, most definitely. And there are more people asking for dietary needs within cakes, definitely.
Something you just said there, you can do like a vegan tier.
Yeah.
So if you've got several tiers in a cake, you just you can make one like the specialized one. I'd never thought of that. That's genius.
Yeah. I mean, it's, to be honest, it's all about pleasing everybody, I suppose. The only thing I would say, if it's got a vegan tier or a allergy-free tier of some kind within a tiered cake, you do have to be careful about cross-contamination, and you do have to tell the client that, you know, that make them aware that there could be cross contamination within that. And if it's a wedding cake and they're getting married at a venue, I always speak to the venue and make them aware that there is an allergy-free tier and tell them which one it is, so that they can then, when they're cutting it, they can make sure that they also have it, you know, in its own designated space and designated board, knife and everything. So it's really just about communication, you know, to make sure the cross-contamination doesn't happen. For myself, in my cake studio, when I'm making them, I just make sure that if there is a gluten-free cake or any kind of allergy-free cake that has been ordered, I make sure that everything is cleaned and sanitized, and that's the only cake that I will do that day. Purely so to make sure there's no cross-contamination, really. But yeah, I mean, it's quite easy to do a tier, even if it's like just a 2-tier birthday cake or something. You know, I can make sure that one of the tiers can be gluten-free, but I do still state about the cross-contamination once it's left the studio. It's once it's left the studio, I'm not in control of it. So yeah, so that's something that they have to be, the client has to be aware of. But I can offer it, definitely.
That's good. So what about, you know, with all of your meal planning and stuff like that, how easy is it to work around allergies and stuff when you're just cooking day-to-day meals and stuff?
Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, it is easier now. I don't buy ready meals or anything like that because that's not something that we do here. So myself and my husband will do the shopping, and we just make sure that if it's a packet of something, we just make sure we read the labels. And it is just about, as I say, it's so much easier to cook gluten-free now because there's so much more available. That, you know, the pasta, the gluten-free pasta is now better. There's you know, there's products out there that are tastier and better. Things like rice, you know, you do have to sometimes read labels. That's the only thing. But yeah, but it's definitely doable, and we still have really nice, nutritious meals. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly sort of dairy free as well, and like you say, I just use the sunflower spread or something to when I bake cakes, and you know, I've just done that for years. Just that's
all I would say is sorry, Jack, all I would say is sometimes the cheese, you have to really watch the dairy-free cheese. Or like I tend to buy the vegan cheese because I can't have the lactose-free cheese either. So you do have to be careful with the cheese because some of it is not nice.
No,
Not
no,
nice.
no. I've never eaten the vegan cheese. To me, that just feels wrong. I use some sheep's cheese. That keeps
Right.
me going. I was brought up in a family where my mum loves cheese. So yeah, for me, a bit of manchego, sheep's cheese just fills that gap.
Yeah.
Keeps me going.
Yeah, no, good idea.
Yeah. So do you have any tips that might be useful for us trying to sort of cook or bake at home? Anything that you've sort of picked up over the years that you think is quite useful?
I mean, as a celiac, it's quite easy for me because in my house there is just me and my husband. So we tend to just both eat like gluten free. The only thing I would say is he won't eat the gluten free bread, even though it's much better now. The only trouble is it is quite expensive, so he has his own bread. So you know, I know when I was first diagnosed, they said that I should have a separate toaster and things like that, but we don't. What I have got is like I've bought the toasty bags. You can buy the toasty bags that you would put a toasted cheese sandwich in and then put it into your toaster. But I use that just for my toast. So literally, if I just want toast, I put it in that. I keep it just for me, and then I put that in the toaster. So there's no contamination from the crumbs of the ordinary bread. So that's
a good idea.
it
Does
just
that stay? Does it stay crispy?
yeah,
Does it
yeah,
like normal? Oh, that's
yeah,
clever.
yeah. I'm not sure where you can buy them. I mean, I think we got ours from Tesco's or somewhere like that. And it's like a pack of about 4 or something. Because they don't last forever. But yeah, just use those in your toaster. Obviously, some people are a lot more sensitive than others.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because a lot of the people that I work with, it's intolerances rather than like full-on allergies.
Right.
So a little, if they get a little bit, it's not always the end of the world, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it depends sort of what levels of sensitivity you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, as a celiac, I am very sensitive, but even so, I can tolerate a very small amount. If there's like a little bit of cross contamination, I can tolerate that. Whereas I know that there are people that even just a little bit of cross contamination, they are instantly ill. And it's not nice. And obviously, that's something that over time, if you eat too much, then obviously it can cause severe problems later in life if you continue to eat wheat, gluten, sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, and everything else, use different boards. Trying to think what else really. It's hard for me to give tips purely because we both eat gluten free. So if we have pasta, we both have gluten free pasta. And to be honest, Darren says that it's not really something that he can taste the difference. So the only thing he doesn't have that's not gluten free is bread, really. That's about it. And to be honest, I know it is a little bit dearer, but I promise you, probably, the family probably wouldn't even notice the difference. Just swap it and don't tell them. They won't notice.
Yeah, the pasta must have improved quite a lot because I know when I used it many, many years ago, and I think was it a combination of rice and millet or something? It was a very sort of white pasta, and if you overcooked it, literally it would be like a mush in the pan. It wasn't good.
Yeah, no, you do have to be careful when you're cooking it, but even so, it is much better taste now, much better.
Okay. So going back to the contamination side of things, like cross contamination, tell us about your the food safety consultancy.
Okay, so when going back to when I was in the corporate world, before I started the cake business, that was something that I used to do within the kitchens that I was in charge of. And I would go in and make sure that basically the team were doing what they should be doing. So keeping temperatures, probe calibration, all that, the legal side of everything that you would need in a kitchen. So I decided then to, sort of this year actually, I decided that that's something that I would start doing for myself. So yeah, I launched my business earlier this year. And what I do now is I go in and help new food businesses or existing food businesses to put all their due diligence and everything they need in place to be able to get their 5 stars from the local council inspection. And that does include allergens. You know, I do allergen training as well within that,
Okay.
because that is so important. You know, in the workplace, any food production, it just needs allergen training, and you would be surprised how many people in the food industry are naive to it and desperately need training. You know, I've been into, I went into a coffee shop, I'm not going to say where, but I'm not going to name it, but I went in and asked if they had any gluten-free sandwiches. And he pointed out that, yes, they had vegan sandwiches. And I said, no, I need a gluten-free sandwich, please. And they pointed to the board and said, yes, but this is vegan. And he had no idea. So I just walked out and thought, yeah, you need training in allergens. So that's how scary it is. And that's front of house. So if that person front of house serving you doesn't know about allergens, it does make you wonder what happens back of house where they're preparing the food. You know, that is a worry for me. So yeah.
So that's like cafes, restaurants, basically anywhere that serves food to the public needs that advice and those sort of procedures in place.
Yeah, so it's a legal requirement to have a food hygiene score from the government for any food anywhere selling food to the public. Okay. So that could be burger vans in lay-bys. It could be festival food. So if you went to a festival and there's you know, I don't know, hog roasts there, or vegan trucks there, or something like that, anywhere that sells food to the public, it's a legal requirement to have a food hygiene rating. And within that, sitting behind that is the fact that, you know, all the staff, to be able to get the 5 stars, all the staff should be able to know what they're doing, know the management systems, be trained in food hygiene and have their certificates, be trained in allergens and things like that. So everybody within, even the person taking the money, everybody has to know about food hygiene and allergens within that. So yeah,
because a lot of these places often, even if you are sort of front of house taking the money, there's always going to be that time where the team working together, maybe they're suddenly doing something in the kitchen, or so yeah, that is really important, isn't it?
Absolutely. Even the person that washes up, you know, I mean, a lot of chefs start by being the washer upper. But even that person needs to be trained and have a food hygiene certificate, purely because if they're busy or if someone goes sick within that environment, within that establishment, you know, they could be called to serve. They could be called to serve on the counter, and that person must know everything there is to do within the food establishment, and, you know, food allergens and things like that. So yeah, it's imperative.
And it's, you know, this is so important, isn't there? There's been a few cases recently where, you know, the effects have been fatal, haven't they? So
yeah, we've got Natasha's Law now. Natasha's Law is actually a year old, well, just over a year old actually now. And obviously a lot of people heard it in the news, might not be so, you know, probably something that people have put to the back of their minds really, but Natasha's Law was brought in because a young girl, well, not a young girl, I mean, she was in her 20s, I think, early 20s. She was at the airport, and she bought a baguette to take on board on a flight, and it didn't have the allergens listed on it, not the right allergens. They'd missed off the sesame seed. I think it was sesame seed. And unfortunately she ate it on the plane, and unfortunately she passed away because of that allergy she had to sesame. And it wasn't stated on the label. So Natasha's Law was brought in to make sure that nobody else died from this. And it was tragic. It was such a tragic waste of life, and it really didn't need to happen. You know, just because that word was left off of the ingredient list, it just didn't need to happen, which is why Natasha's Law was brought in. you know, and passed through government, and that's now, you know, anything that is bought in to then sell. So, for example, if I was to supply a cake to a cafe, I would have to make sure that everything within that cake, all the ingredients and allergens were listed, and the allergens must always be in a different type or bold or different color or something, so it's highlighted, and then that's passed on to the cafe, and then the cafe then again have, when they sell it, they have to state that. So yeah, so it's imperative, because it's just, you know, some allergens can be fatal.
Yeah.
It's just so terrible. It's just not, it's just needless. It's a needless death. So
I think people, you know, who obviously aren't in the industry probably find all of this quite surprising, but you know, I think it's great that we've got people like you out there that can keep this in place and, you know, keep the standards high, because that's obviously, like you say, it's really needed now, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And also as well, you know, even if a food company have got 5 stars in place from their local council, it's imperative that any new starters are trained, and
Yeah.
you know, so you know, there should always be training records, and on that training record there should be an allergens list that they've done the allergen, and the allergen, I mean, it's so easy to find, you know. The government, the food standards, they do an allergen course, so, you know, and it's free. So, you know, them to be able to do that, and then I can go in and make sure that they actually do know what they're talking about. So yeah, so that's imperative. So
That's good. Excellent. So we'll finish on a lighter note. What's the weirdest food requirement that you've ever been asked to cater for?
Weirdest food. Oh, that's a hard one. I think because I do afternoon teas as well, I have a regular lady who doesn't live far from me, and she quite often will order afternoon teas for her family. And I now know the food problems within her family. So to supply those afternoon teas, I now know how to do it. So it's always, and I get the same email with the same list of allergies. So it's no nuts, because her son's got a nut allergy, so they don't have any nuts in the house. Her husband can't eat what's it, garlic, onions, leeks, so any of that sort of family. What else is it? Although there was another person can't have salmon or something like that. So for me, obviously, I've now know, when I first got it, and when I first got that guest spot for, when I got the first order, I was looking at it thinking, oh my God, what on earth?
I was going to say, just give them bread or something.
yeah. And I was just like, right, okay, let me think about this. So
just send a picture.
yeah, yes. But now I know what, you know, now I know what she likes and what she dislikes. And it's quite easy now, because she, you know, she'll tell me, right, we want tuna sandwiches, but without the onion, and no spread and things like that. So obviously now it's easier to know. But I just think to myself, how hard must that be for that family to be able to go out and eat, you know, in restaurants and on holiday and things like that. It must be a nightmare, you know. And I do feel for them. So for me to be able to provide that afternoon tea to them, I know they're going to be safe. So that's probably the weirdest thing. That's probably the sort of the most intense food requirement I've ever had.
Oh. So have you got anything special going on for Christmas, cake wise or anything, Liz?
Yeah, okay. So obviously Christmas cakes, Christmas puddings, and I'm also doing post out boxes. So it's a box that can go through your letterbox, and businesses can order them for their clients if they want to say thank you for the business for the year, or just, you know, or even happy birthday or happy Christmas or something like that. But the Christmas ones are Christmas themed. So they'll have a little slice of Christmas cake, some cookies, some homemade fudge, coconut ice, things like that. So yeah, so I mean, that's something that they can find on my Facebook page and what have you. So yeah, so I can post those out. And again, if dietary requirements are needed, I can work around that as well. So yeah, so that's the Christmas sort of thing.
Okay.
And
do you
hot
do
chocolate
those
bombs as well.
Oh, sounds good. Do you do those throughout the year as well? If somebody just wanted to send a treat to someone, can you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, again, if someone just wants to say thank you for the business, thank you for using my services, things like that. Yeah, I can do that throughout the year, and I can also put their business card in with it if they send it to me, any personal messages, things like that. And I do those throughout the year and what have you. So yeah, so they're available as well.
That's a really nice idea, actually. You got me thinking.
I think it's the homemade fudge that gets everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so you've got a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Where else can people find you if they need any help?
Okay, so I've obviously got the Facebook page. I've got Instagram. Also, they can ring me or leave a message or email me. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. So yeah.
Okay. And I will add any details and contact things below this video anyway.
Cool.
And I just want to say a huge thank you, Lise, for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
Anything you want to add? Anything you feel we need to know before you go?
Just stay safe. Just, you know, allergens aren't, you know, allergens, intolerances, things like that. They're not a barrier. There's something that can be dealt with, and you can still eat healthily. You can still have your little treats. You know, so if you're told, you know, if someone does the the intolerance test with you, Jackie, then, you know, and you say to them, well, you know, you need to leave, you know, steer clear of wheat or yeast or dairy or anything like that, then don't look at it as a negative. Look at it as a positive, because you will feel so much better once you cut that out of your life. And you can still eat very easily. And you just have to be just a little bit more mindful about what you eat. That's it. That's all really. So
yeah, I think most things you can sort of get around, can't you? And when it comes to intolerances, it's not always forever anyway. If you work on improving the gut health, you know, you can sometimes tolerate more of that food that was causing you problems. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's not the end of the world.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
It's the beginning of the world.
Yes, yeah, it's the beginning of feeling so much better for looking after yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. Well, thanks again, Lise.
You're welcome.
And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.